Hi, my name is Amar. Welcome to another video in Clinical Research Concepts. In this lecture, we are going to understand something very important. We are going to understand why does the same medicine help in one patient, not work well in another patient, and even cause harm in someone else. This is very important for you to know because differences in drug response are a major challenge in both clinical practice and pharmacovigilance. By the end of this video, you will be able to understand how pharmacogenetics helps in explaining adverse drug reactions and why genetic knowledge is becoming so important in personalized medicine. A standard dose does not always give a standard response in every patient. Two people can take the same medicine for the same condition. One person may improve, another may not get much benefit, and a third person may develop toxicity or a serious adverse effect. This difference in response is one of the main reasons why adverse drug reactions are still a major concern in practice. So, why does this happen? The answer often lies in biological differences between patients. Things like age, organ function, other diseases, diet, other medicines, and even genetics can all affect how a drug behaves in the body. Among all these factors, genetics is especially important. That is because inherited genetic differences can affect both how the body handles a drug and how the body responds to that drug at its target site. Adverse drug reactions create a major burden both clinically and economically. They can lead to hospital admissions. They can make hospital stays longer. They can even complicate treatment. And in severe cases, they can even lead to disability or death. So, this clearly tells us that medicine safety is not just a theoretical concept. It is a real issue that affects real patients every single day. That is why understanding differences in drug response is not just an academic topic, it has direct practical value. It helps doctors prescribe more safely. It helps in better monitoring. And it helps in making better benefit risk decisions. When we understand why some patients are more vulnerable than others, we move closer to preventing harm instead of only reacting after it happens. Pharmacogenetics is the study of how inherited genetic differences affect a person's response to medicines. Some genetic changes can affect drug metabolizing enzymes, transporters, or receptors. Because of that, the amount of drug in the body may change, or the body's response to the drug may change. And this helps in explaining why the same dose can produce very different outcomes in different people. This pharmacogenetics field is useful because it helps connect what we see in clinical practice with a real biological explanation. Instead of just saying that a patient is unusually sensitive or unexpectedly resistant to a medicine, pharmacogenetics can sometimes point to a specific genetic reason behind that response. And that opens the door for more targeted prescribing and better prediction of risk. Genes can affect drug response in two major ways through pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. Pharmacokinetics is about what the body does to the drug. It includes absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. These factors affect the concentration of drug in the body. For example, if a patient metabolizes a drug slowly, the drug may build up in the body and cause toxicity. On the other hand, if a patient metabolizes it very quickly, the drug may not reach the desired therapeutic level. Pharmacodynamics is about what the drug does to the body. It involves the drug's target, such as receptors, enzymes, or signaling pathways. In this case, the drug level may be normal, but the tissue response may still be different. So, both pathways are important. Adverse reactions can happen either because the patient is exposed to too much drug or because the patient is unusually sensitive at the site of action. A good example is when certain genetic variants increase the risk of serious adverse reactions with specific medicines. If a gene related to a receptor or a metabolic pathway is altered, the patient's risk can increase a lot. even when the prescribed dose is completely normal. This shows us that the adverse drug reactions are not always random. In some cases, they are biologically predictable. This is exactly why pharmacogenetics testing has so much clinical promise. It supports the idea of giving the right drug at the right dose to the right patient. Of course, there are still some practical challenges like cost, access, and how to implement testing in routine practice. But the direction is very clear. Genetic knowledge is becoming a more important part of safer and more personalized medicine. So, the key message is that drug response depends not only on the medicine but also on the patient receiving it. Pharmacogenetics helps us in understanding why adverse reactions do not happen equally in everyone, and it gives us a path towards more precise prescribing. As this field continues to grow, it is going to play an even bigger role in preventing avoidable harm.